What's good, everybody? What's good? Good evening. No, it's a late show. You know, the technical difficulties that I always have to fight to try to get on. So I'm never going to have a show that is having a precise time so that you could be just kind of waiting like I know you're not going to do. But again, what's good to my subscribers that should be in the house? What's good, fam? Passerbyers? Hey, it's a grand opening. Go ahead, walk around, see what you like, see if you want to shop, see something you like. Go ahead and purchase something. You can also leave a like, dislike, comment, say I ain't shit, whatever it is. Agent, do what you do. You know that's what they pay you to do. We working, right? So, you know, before I get started in my show, I always got to give my spiel out, right? Which is basically, welcome, hello. I'm your host, the Whiteologist, Mr. Blows Your Mind, and this is Black Minds News. Again, I'm your host. This channel is to report, transmit, communicate, translate, reiterate, decode, unveil, spread the news, whether by news, video, website, or through quotes from publications. As I articulate these, your whiteologists, I ask that the creator of the universe be present in spirit. As a descendant of some of the greatest people who was ever created in this land that we call the United States, that they call the greatest country on this planet, coming from the greatest people I am a descendant of, and on this channel here, we give honor to them. You know why? Because the truth don't need no partner. And you know what my motto is? I'm not going to tell you what I heard. I'm going to tell you what I know. And the beat goes on, right? And the beat goes on. New day for some people. Life ended. Some people just being born. Some of us were still enduring. So, you know how it is as a person who comes and seeking and looking and finding and will bring forth for those who are willing to, you know, congregate and listen. I should be wanting your participation by doing your thing as commenting. But since I got to start the show, you know, I have to get you set up and set up a foundation before we get into it. Now, you know, the country lost a president. You know, there's mixed feelings. There's people you see on TV and they're giving their condolences and there's the happy times, right? And again, no one gloats when somebody dies, right? But again, there's always two sides to life. There's, again, matter of fact, when you look on the tombstone, right, you have the birth date and then you have the death date. You know, they say what the most important part about on that tombstone is? That little slash in between the birth date and the death date. Meaning, what did you do in between, right? What are we going to measure you on? Not me per se, but you know, those who believe that once we leave here, there's a balance we have to stand before to be judged, right? So again, we have people who are, you know, some might be consoling and some people are, you know, memorizing, right? But then there was another side to that, right? Some people who took the blunt of some of that slash that was left on a person's life. Again, they say we are a sum total of our life experience. Now, for some people, life has been great. They benefit. They're privileged. They have pathways, right, that leads them to whatever that pot of rainbow, you know, the gold under the pot of the rainbow, or the rainbow under the pot of the gold, right? You know what I'm saying, right? So, but again, the dichotomy is there's another branch of people who may be on the butt end of somebody's life who were doing things that were not seen. Maybe not to the masses of people, but those people, again, let's say politically, maybe you don't get to see it directly. Maybe it was things legislatively that were being implemented through administration that were having an effect on people. And if you, being on the same persuasion, getting the same privilege, then this would be something unbeknownst to you. Now, if you go back in the history of this individual, around about the 80s, when he was going against an individual trying to get himself set up to be, the president. And if those who've been around remember what took place, this individual that he was going against, what did they say, Michael Dukakis? Where did they say that for, right? It was Michael Dukakis he was going against back in those 80s. And what ended up happening was Dukakis was kind of, having the favoritism. He needed something. So this individual needed something to catapult him. Again, maybe it was a dog whistle, right? It was a tactic used to get this person to get into the position that he ended up becoming what now those people who are commemorating about, right? Well, Mr. Bowman, what are you talking about? I'm not quite sure. Well, I got to set it up before I get into it. But let me show you this, and then I'll come back. Let's check this out, and I'll be back. How about that? Let's do that. It might be a little slow tonight, but let's see if we can get it going. Okay, so that was the beginning of where Tough on Crime seems to be originating from. Hold on. I don't need no music in the background, sir. We don't need that. All right, there we go. So, again, we see that the propaganda of advertisement, right? Media propaganda. And how that ad, again, you will never see black people actually praising or wanting somebody who is guilty of crimes or whatever it may be. Black people do not support that. As much as there's a saying that, you know, like if you should ever be, let's say, dealing with criminality and have to deal with lawyers, and if your witnesses are people of color, they seem to have less credibility. Like they say, black people lie for black people, as if other people don't lie for their own people. And as we go in later on in the show, I will show you, remember this point, that all people lie when it's convenient or when they feel like they need to do it as a support, depending on the relationship and so forth. But the stigmatization is the fact that black people lie because we're black and we're always going to lie, which is a myth, right? Our shit is not true, right? But some people will, you know, use that as a, you know, the catalyst for their reason why they do what they do. Let's just say that much. All right, so you have, you know, the dog whistles, right? They use his scenario, okay? They had a program back in the 80s, like when you went to jail, you could get a furlough, meaning you could work, like say during let's say you could go, let's say you work from 8 to 4. They would let you out 8 in the morning, go to work, come back, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of, you just live in, but you had a job, right? And due to what happened with Willie Horton, because, you know, again, anybody, when they have opportunities, regardless of whatever race, color, creed, opportunity, that's what's called opportunity. The opportunity is there to exist. Some people will take it. Again, you incarcerated. You want your freedom, right? And maybe that just before you have an opportunity between going to and fro, you decide. But again, they're not telling you the whole story, because again, the person who end up doing that crime, they say rape, and the boyfriend was actually somebody he had used to deal with. But now that he got locked up, you know, she moved on, and you know, that whole thing took place. Again, we don't condone what that took place, but then they use that because, again, when you think about history and take it back to the first blockbuster movie in the United States, you know what that was? In 1914, they called it Birth of a Nation, right? If you ever seen that movie. Not the one they did with the brother that did the one with Nat Turner. We're talking about where he got that from, right? Now, in Birth of a Nation, what they did was, the movie was set on the fact that there was going to be this mulatto that was going to get and run the country, and niggas going to come in there and fuck up the nation, or the niggas are still in the nation. And so it galvanized them, because again, when they got in, the dude name was Silas. Kind of was like some prophecy shit, because you think about it, here come Obama, and then look where the fuck we at today, right? So anyway, so it gets in, niggas in the motherfucking cabinet shit, eating pig feet all up on it. I mean, the pictures of the shit, and again, they blackface, playing like black people, right? And they just doing all this stereotypical shit, and they were going after white women. Because, you know, that's been the stereotype going back to galvanize white men, is that black men are out here raping white women. Matter of fact, let's look at what happened recently with Tulsa, Oklahoma being burnt down, the Emmett Till story. We can go on and on and on. It's always been catalyst of those atrocities is because some woman, a dancer in distress, ain't been raped. And come to find out, you understand, To Kill a Mockingbird, right? Yeah, you know. So, so on that point, right? So you got the birth of a nation that end up sending the proceedings that end up getting who? The Klan involved. So here it was that JWB is dog whistling about how he's going to this individual and that he's for, you know, what they call a death penalty, right? Matter of fact, when you look at Chicago and Illinois, they had to repeal that because you was incarcerating and killing a lot of men who are innocent. But again, that was again the mantra was to make them appear that their ass was out here to be tough on crime. But we held the bag on it. It was our people who've been holding the bag of this shit that got started during this time. And then you see everybody who came after that, look how they all, like I said, 3-strike law came, right? High incarceration, again, like they got opioid now. You know, people crying about the opioid epidemic, but they're not going to jail. But when crack was being put up in our communities, women was going to jail, the men was going. Ain't no such thing as about being, you know, hooked on drugs and we're gonna find someone and put you in a facility to get. No, none of that. Your ass is a criminal, and we're gonna lock your ass up, 3 hots in the cot, and you know you deal with life, and your whole everybody who connected to you is fucked up. The children going into the system, the whole thing. It just caused a lot of bullshit, and it was the beginning of that shit right there, right? Right. That was the beginning of that shit. So, so let me get to this next part here, right? So the next part I want to get into is, well, you know, I put it like this. This brother here, you know, due to what transpired after his bout, right? You know, kind of was questionable. Those who actually got to see me for myself, I only get in the back end. I didn't actually watch it. But it was something he had said earlier prior to this contest. There's some things he said, and I want to get into elaborate on that. But let me give you what he said for those who may have not seen it or heard it. But check this out and come back afterwards.
The energy is building up. All the talk is going to come to a
Okay, so that was Deontay Wilder, brother. That was basically pretty much invented. The boy had like 39 knockouts. Got the one draw. A lot of people say it was controversial. I didn't get to actually see the fight, but based on people, pundits and so forth. But it was just the fact that what he had said, right? When he had this conversation with this so-called Radio Raheem, right? Radio Raheem, I guess I'm do the right thing. Remember Radio Raheem, right? So basically, he was saying that he was kind of talking about the build-up of the fight and so forth, and it just got to a point where it turned as he asked a question as if like he was separate from the question when he asked him about his people. And he like looking at him like, what do you mean my people? Like this ain't your plight too? See, that has been the division amongst us. Because you got some people, again, what some people would call success, and because they have success, they think that life, has made, pathways and advantages because of their success, as if certain things don't exist now because you have accumulated some wealth and material, you have gotten a name and so forth, and that means that the things that once were there have now dissipated or disappeared. But see, that's what Deontay Wilder was saying. He was like, hold on. Don't get it twisted. I got a good life. Things are going good and I got positive people around me. But I ain't forgot who I am and where I come from and what this is about. See? So he had to emphasize that and put the oomph. You know what I'm saying? Like say Coke 2. Those who've been around remember Coke 2. He drank Coke 2 was like something missing, right? Well, that's Radio Raheem. Radio Raheem was like Coke 2. Something missing in him. So Deontay Wilder had to say, let me give you some of this Coke. Let me strengthen your shit up right quick, right? Yours too, my friend. 400 years. I ain't got to explain. You know what it is. See? But again, when he's feeding his audience, and again, those people who may be, again, what they call a lot of people that's on these corners and these internets, they call them influencers, right? And a lot of them are getting paid. They call it influencers. So they're influencing people to have, because of their, subscribership, as you can see over here. That's not part of my game, is it? I'll come on here with one person in here. You understand? Because I know they block me from getting what it is. So I'm never going to be the influencer. Because, again, what I talk about, right? So this one here is catering to whoever is that, and may not be the same constituency as himself, because you have a lot of our people who do that. So he's trying to, get him to say some things, and he said, I ain't got to get into all that. We all know what that is, right? But for me as a whiteologist, I do reiterate it. I do take that stance and talk about that. I don't think just because people interpret you assume they know, they really don't be knowing, because it's not really the part of the real curriculum in this school, as much as they're now trying to start talking about putting that in the curriculum because of 2020, right? Right? Well, let's put not 2020, because 2019 is coming. In 2019, for those that, if that's going to go at that date of the 1619, well, 400 years will be starting within, see where today is the 3rd. So we got about, 28 days? About 28 days left on this month, and it begins the celebration of the 400 years, right? I don't know if it's really a celebration, but I know it is something that a lot of people will have to start internalizing, looking at, and say, well, okay, from where that was to where we are, how much progress has been made, right? So you can see the big and the spirit in that brother about what he is saying, right? So on the same, let's say, path as I started off with the Willie Horton, this brother could fit that due to the simple fact, for some people, he could be scary, right? You know what I'm saying? Kind of like remember when Tyson was in his day. As long as he was doing what he's doing and people could make money, but it got to the point they couldn't make money because if he knocking them out and he not getting past the first round, so let's just look at it from a betting standpoint for those who bet and you know, and those making that money on it, they couldn't make really no money, right? So he was bad for business. He was great, but he was bad for business. And so when they chew you like bubble gum and spit you out, then you know what I'm saying, you take the back route. Lucky for him, that's, you know, he got it earlier, and then when they kind of fall out, he kind of like he growing into getting mature to trying to do some other things. So that's why you see him still kind of surviving today. But it could have turned for the worse, as a lot of people would do. But I'm just saying, this brother here, again, you see what his stance is and what he's standing on and what he's talking about. Right now, they accept that. But as time go on, they may use that against him, because it could have turned. They could have just said he lost last night, but for the money that they can get on this next fight, they made it a draw, right? So we continue some of the things that probably gonna come from him as time go on. Now, I'm setting up something for you, right? I'm setting the platform for you. Now, you might not see this. I'm gonna give this in 3 parts. Right? I'm going to give this to you in 3 parts because I have to, otherwise they would shut it down. So, you know, a lot of times, you know, way that hip-hop is being depicted, it has a real negative connotation to it, negative energy, vibe, and sometimes look. And those who come from the original school of hip-hop to what we see now, they have their gripes, but they actually give a lot of them their credit when they doing that kind of good work. But then there's also the black eye to it as well. But then you see one that will come and you kind of like put a smile in your face or put a smile in your heart, because young brother said some things that it was kind of like this brother here, Deontay Wilder, did, right? The way he did and what he stood lets you know that not everybody out here has forgotten, right? Because again, as you see the logo on the face here, it's always been about race. And so that has to be kind of the foundation of the way we have to look at things. And when we see it, we acknowledge it. And when it's wrong, we speak on it, right? So let's just part 1 here. Let this go out, and then I'll come back and we'll talk about it after that. So check this out. Okay, so again, that's that young brother Meek Mills, right? Who they had him, talking about some things that might have been a little bit, but I think he handled himself as much as he could, right? Because again, the person who's doing the interview, being a little older, knowing a little bit more, is posing certain, questions to him to see where he's at, right? So he questioned him as into in a rap he did, and talking about the plantations to prison, and said abolition was the plan, right? The abolitions was the plan again to keep them incarcerated, right? Or us as black men incarcerated. And so, as the Caucasian white man, he wants to say, well, hey, we know there needs some reform, right? We know the prison system needs some reform, but really, that's what you really believe? You really think that the system is designed into just, going after and putting, wait a minute. Again, as I said earlier, starting off the show, there's one side of segment of people, again, will look at a particular individual and talk about the good times and the greatness of that. But then there was another side to that, right? So from his perspective, and again, as being a journalist or some person who's a pundit or a person who's having a show and doing interviews, it's his job to do that anyway, right? So, but we know that is the mindset that they have. Because again, when they hear we speaking like that, they always saying, you have to be angry, or, you got to be the angry black man, or, that you're holding on to grudges and get over it. As if the things that we're talking about are not prevalent. And they'll say, well, you can't prove it. Well, sometimes, and again, when you're dealing with people who are conniving, scheming, plotting, having think tanks, right? Using bills, legislation. Maybe you can't really, those who are now can't say what it is. Let's put it this. Let's give you an example. Those who were in 50s and 60s and what they were doing at the time. It wasn't until after that era had passed before people could go back and say, oh, that shit was called COINTELPRO, right? Right, the evidence now had came out because again, get the FOI, the Freedom of Information Act, and so forth. People who do that kind of research, they go and again they sift through, and then they end up and it becomes public information, right? So you can't put your finger on it, but we can see that again, if you live in the environments, that you see people, they're going in and out of jail, they're doing certain type of crime, they're getting gang of time and so forth and things like that. So we understand the dichotomy between a plantation to prison are pretty much the same, because the matter of fact, isn't it said that in that 14th Amendment that you so-called free, and again, quotation, so-called, unless your ass get locked up, then slavery is active, right? You are now a participant, involuntary slave, right? You are now officially a slave with no rights and nothing, again, right? So he talks about those who do get caught up in that web and how they're in there, pennies on the dollar that they're making, but they're producing products that somebody is making, that who, again, if they privatize in the prison system, somebody's making money, and then the people who the product is being made is making money too. But the only person who's not getting it is the people who are being incarcerated. So is that kind of like plantation? I know after so-called Civil War, and then they went through the freedom, right? What they call it, the Freedmen Act, and all that whole shit. And then, well, we're gonna let you come back, and this time we're gonna pay you. But then what ended up happening is people came back, ancestors went back, they worked. But then now he wants to say, well, I'm feeding you, I'm clothing you, I'm housing you, so I got to deduct that shit. So you end up working for free any motherfucker way. So what's different between that and then somebody who is being incarcerated going to jail, right? You're going to jail, and then, okay, we're going to give you 50 cents an hour. Shit, I think sweatshops get more than 50 cents a goddamn hour, right? So that's big profit. That's big capitalism. So then again, you need to have, like, again, matter of fact, I done talked about that, about the GO group, the Citicorp group, those and CCA. These institutions, that is their business. Their business is to get as many people as they can get to flood in, to fill in like a hotel, so that they can provide services. And if you seen the other night or 2 nights ago when I played that, the woman that did the infomercial for it, she made it sound like it was a damn brochure, like you was going on a holiday. And he was like, well, shit, why I don't try that shit? They got a good-ass job and 3 hots in a cot, and I ain't got to worry about rent and, Made the shit sound like that was something you want to go do. But not looking at that, how what is destroying, right? Again, somebody doing crime, well, of course, you supposed to. You doing some fuck shit, then yeah, you supposed to, again, old Beretta back in the day was don't do the crime if you can't do the time, yeah, right? If you do that shit, then you supposed to get it. So he goes on and he says also that, he tried to make that point to, if you know anything about the Meek Mill situation, that he had a judge, and the judge is black. So, the old white man, you always try to use, black on black crime, right? So, in this case, how could you say that the system, how can you say that the system is, as bad as you're saying when the person who you were before was black? As if, like, black people working for the system is still got a job to do when you hire them. They're not doing things on their own. They still got to go within the parameters of the game that is, and then if there's something that really need to be done, you gonna do it or you can't have the job. So again, you try to make it because that somebody is black like you, that can't be true. There is no design. See, she's black like you. Maybe it has something to do with just yourself, right? He's like, it has nothing to do with that. That's the design. See, he said the word design. But he also went politically correct. He said, well, there's white people who come from where I come from. So it's not about color. You could be in my environment and this can happen to you too. So he got a little politically correct with that, right? And then he goes on, talks about, well, what about Trump? Is Trump allied with this stuff that you're talking about? Well, he said, I don't know too much about that, right? I'm a hip-hop cat. I ain't politically like that. I haven't got to the mature level of that, right? So he can't really answer that, right? So let me go on and show you some more to that. There's 3 parts to it. I had to break it up for purpose reasons. So here's the second part to that. All right, let me show it to you. There you go. Check it out. Okay? So, young brother, starting to warm up a little bit, right? He's starting to warm up a little bit, right? So, you see that the person from the interview asked him about the Jay-Z after Kanye. Again, why would he say that? Right? Trying to create a kind of a beef, right? Right? And so, well, you know, Jay-Z said some things that's about Kanye, you know, and you know, you're doing an album or a record, right, with Jay-Z, so, you know, but he said, no, well, you know, he don't represent what we represent, right? He representing that red hat, right? He said the red hat. Now, the red hat is representing what it says, MAGA. Make America great again. The only way you can make America great again. What made America great the first time? And a lot of people don't, you know, connect the dots when you talk about that. They just make that seem like, well, it's just a slogan. You know, Republican about politics, I'm making change and we're trying to get, oh, okay, that sounds, right? That sounds great, but the actuality of it again, or is, the fact that the country was built off of your ancestors and what they contribute, blood, sweat, and tears, right? And you garnered nothing from the production of the greatness that they said that this place has. And so he's saying that he himself knows where he come from and what he represents. It seems like this one done got lost, right? And so I read the article where it talked about Jay-Z was making a reference that may had connotated towards Donald Trump, right? So he talks about that. He said, well, you know, I want to see what you said in your mindset, because again, you have Jay-Z. Now, you know, Jay-Z has said some things that might be a little questionable because it's like he's coming after the president, you know, and you know, and this is a guy you kind of associate with, but you know, and he got problems also with Jay-Z. I mean, with Kanye. So, you know, I'm trying to see what your mindset is on, right? You know, I said that I seen that you did something in the New York Times, right? And you're trying to be an advocate for about prison reform and talking about things, and they say, well, they kind of think, well, you're not the right guy, right? You know how this country is. They always would take what you done, even though you may pay your time to, you know, you done paid your dues and come back into society, but they're going to always hold it over your head. But if we start talking about history, and we start talking, get over it. But they don't let you forget shit. So he's like, okay, you know your background, your juvenile record, you done had possessions of weapons, you done got for drugs, you know what I'm saying? I don't think you'll be a good person. Why? Because he kind of is talking in the sense of he is still plugged into who we come from. You know, you listen to some of the words he's saying, he know who he is. He ain't forgot. Yes, he got a little success. He got some names, but he ain't quite forgot who he is and where he come from, right? So a person like that is not a person they want really to advocate, because he kind of can remind those who follow him about what transpired and what take place and that kind of thing, right? So he said, based on the stuff that you did, right, and you want to blame it on the system, but maybe it was just because you didn't play by the rules, right? Yeah, Meek, you didn't play by the rules, and that's, you know what I'm saying, you were breaking the laws, right? So Meek goes in and says, you know what? Let me give you a little quick rundown on this, okay? Look at the environment I come in, right? You see the environment I come out of? The environment that I live in, again, who breeded that? Who designed that? Who designed the environment that most of us who came out of the urban cities, who designed that? How's that segged off in some little area, quarantined off like a red section, red line to you, right? And then people who are in the same conditions of poverty, you know, poor education and so forth and all that, are all crammed up with no opportunities for employment. So, you know, streets and the values of hustling becomes an avenue for employment. And guess what's going to happen? You're going to start breeding because there's not enough elbow room, and it causes frictions and animosities, and people got to defend themselves, and all kinds of shit is going to take place. Now I ask you a question, Mr. White Man. If you lived there and this shit was happening to you, would you not be carrying a motherfucking gun to protect yourself? And the white man said, yes, he would. Okay, so guess what? That I lived there, but you don't. So I did. So when they caught me, yes, you caught me. Right? You caught me with a motherfucking gun because I got to protect myself. I can't be out here like that. You know what I'm saying? Kept me slipping and okay. Right? What the saying is, they say, I'd rather be judged by 12 than cared by 6. Ain't that what they be saying? I'd rather be 12. I'd rather carried by 12. Judged by 12 and carried by 6, right? Now that's just what it is, right? So he goes on. He says, well, you know, this is America, huh? This is America. Don't get no slipping now. Don't get no slipping now, huh? This is America, right? And the America that we come out of, going back to the conversation that Deontay Wilder said, I'm from another place, man. Right? I come from another place that's inside this place that most of you have no knowledge about what that's about. You get it through television, you get it through movies, but when you actually living, breathing, and coming through that, coming up out of, let's say, roses coming out of concrete, so something entirely different, right? So here's me saying this environment that somebody has created and made, this is where we come from. And so, again, he said, now if you're talking about my juvenile record, like shit, he said, okay, let's check this out. Let me tell you something. I have respect for my mama. My daddy was already dead. He said daddy was in the cemetery. My daddy was already dead. So my mama, you know what I'm saying, I got suspended from school, but I don't want to tell my mama because now mama got to miss a day at work. And if you the only one providing, and again, certain people had jobs, you can't take no time off. That's money. He missing a day, so he said, fuck it, you know, I ain't gonna tell her, but he tried to get back in school. What school do? Call police on him, and that's how he ended up getting his first, you know, getting arrested and getting that first little case. Now he giving you the lay down, like, but you trying to say that, again, they'll use that bullshit, like, okay, like I was talking about the other day when they talking about some of the people that was on the border and all criminals. Again, like I said, you could have, you know, been doing some mischievous stuff when you were little, breaking, busting windows, and you got misdemeanors or disorderly and shit. Can I still call you a criminal because you got labeled that? I would be bullshitting, really, but it would be in the confines of the game. So you understand what I'm saying? So you can say that shit, and yet it don't necessarily mean a motherfucker is really that. But that word is so umbrella and so broad, and that when somebody said it, they get the worst. It's the worst. You know, it's the worst energy or the worst connotative energy that you get from a criminal, right? But he telling you, man, all that shit is like bullshit. And then he says, look, you know what the task force is? Task force came in, you know, whatever the shit was about, and they claim I pointed a gun at them. He said, you know what the task force is, right? He said, I am black in America, right? Do you think a black man can point a gun at most coming in his house who probably represent as authority, and I ain't getting no bullets? Right? Just to show the kind of bullshit as he's done. He's showing the bullshit, right? And as we go on more on, I'm going to show you some bullshit to solidify what he's been saying and what others have said. So let's give you the third part and move on. Let me give you the third part. I won't talk too much more. All right, so here's the third part to that. All right, and should be coming on. And let's get it. And that's Meek Mills. Meek Mills. Right? Young man trying to make some points there, making some valid points where you can understand where he's coming from, right? So he asked the white man, right? He said, do you believe that can really happen, right? Do you really believe that a black man in America, in these United States, can point a gun at a authority, municipal authority, and not get no bullet? You know what the white man say? The underlying facts. I gotta see the underlying facts. You know why? Because they not going against the cops. Cops is a line of defense for them. You ever notice they always take that position, regardless, and it could be as guilty as fuck. You know, I heard stories about you guys, right? I heard these stories about you guys. I got a lot of friends with cops. They got a lot of stories. But see, again, there's always two sides of the shit, right? Of course, somebody's going to always tell you the side they want to tell you, but they don't tell you the shit they be doing, right? They don't know what to talk about that shit. But anyway, as we go on, I'm going to show you some shit tonight, right? So it says, Meek Mill says, well, cops, he say, they charge my kind of people all the time. They don't be doing shit. They don't do shit. They just, if a cop decide that, like that bullshit, they want to come with this stop and frisk shit. Now, again, I'm not against, municipalities, the law, going after motherfuckers who deserve and need to be got. Yeah, that you fucking up. If you want to get that white man that time, go ahead and take your ass and do that shit, right? Right? That's what you want to do. But when we talk about people who are innocent, see, and that's the one thing. See, because that's what it sound like here. Somebody white listening was going to sit there and say, well, yeah, niggas always want to say they're innocent. They're innocent. Well, goddamn it, a lot of times we be innocent. There's a lot. They say that's a kind of a joke. They say, everybody in prison always talking about they're innocent. There is a lot of motherfuckers. How you keep seeing people getting exonerated, doing 30 years, 25 years, 40 years of their goddamn life and coming out and being exonerated, come to find out and just putting cases on motherfuckers, right? We just be making that shit up. Who makes that shit up? You understand? Nobody makes no shit up like that. And so Meek is just reiterating and saying, look, where I come from, man, police ain't there to protect us. They in there trying to, again, think about police. Police merit is based on the fact about arrest, especially if you're trying to get some stripes. The more arrests you get, you know what I'm saying? You showing what kind of, cop you is. So, again, if you're going down there, like he said, somebody who don't have the kind of money, and again, poor people always, right? That's that segment of the side where you just go down there, you just do all kinds of shit because, again, they don't have the representation, they don't have the money to do the shit. You know what I'm saying? There ain't no protection, all that other shit. It's like you can do what the fuck you want. And guess what? That's where you pretty much police it. You don't be having a whole bunch of police in certain other neighborhoods. You don't have that shit, right? So he said, so basically, when he kept asking him, he said, well, do you believe? It mean white people. Do you believe that a black man could do this? And then y'all really believe that shit? Y'all believe that shit. Why do they believe that shit is the question. Do they need to believe it to validate the bullshit that they hold in their fucking minds and heart? And come to find out that some of them, when they have associations with, now again, depending on where they come from, some of their associations be with you based on the simple fact that it'd be work, school, and so forth like that. But if you too black, you kind of scare them, right? You kind of scare them and they ain't right. So you have to be safe. You have to be a safe Negro, right? A safe Negro. But you get too swole up and get too angry, because I know that anger really is real, even though I try to make it seem like it's something crazy and wild-eyed nigga, but you know where that shit really come from. So he said, now when I'm around my white friends, I feel guilty because it's like they believe that shit. And I'm sitting here thinking, you believe, wait a minute, you mean to tell me that if a task force came in here and they're going to write some shit and say, I did this, that I did that, and I'm still sitting here talking to you? You believe that shit? No, you need to believe that shit. Is why. That's the whole point. They need to believe that shit, right? And what's it doing it to go to jail, right? So basically, Meek Mills laid down some good foundations for where I'm going the rest of this show. Prior to what you already seen prior before, where it started off with the Dukakis and Bush, right? And then the Willie Horton and how that set up the precedents as into, the campaign about tough on crime. And then here's a young man who's trying to advocate about that. And they just say, well, you're not a good representative because you've been in and out of life. You don't get it. But he's saying, well, it's bullshit. But again, because of the stance he's taking and what he's really talking about and what he's saying as to, like, hey, my people are taking the blunt of some shit of somebody else's design. They don't want that kind, right? So let's move on. That was Meek Mills, right? Let me look and see who are now this before I move on. See if I get any fam in the house. Oh, no. People leaving, huh? You're tired. Okay, it's all good. I got Leonard the Yuta. No sound? Still no sound? Hold on. Still no... give me a warning if you stop sound. Ain't no sound, still no sound? They done cut my damn sound off? Can I get a warning by somebody if you're in here? Give me a warning if you can hear me. Can I get hold on, I do something. I'll see if I got some sound. Let me see if I got some sound. Y'all saying I got no sound. That's fucked up. See, I don't know why I ain't got no damn sound, right? It was all this time. But see, again, it's about, you don't want that conversation. You don't want that conversation. No. No audience. No. Anybody want to let me know if y'all can hear me? I'm going to check myself. I got somewhere I can check. Hold on. Let me check and see if I got some audio. Let me see. Let me check right quick. Let me see if there's some sound in here. Any sound? I ain't got no damn sound, right? Okay, I got sound. All right. All right, I can move on. All right, so I do got sound. Okay. Now, Leonard the Yuta, Fela Kuti 360 or 1360, and then LeFort Thomas was good, fam. All right, so let me move on. Now, let's see. I'm here. Okay, so let me go here and here. I think it's here and here. Let me go here and here. Right here and here. So let me play this and let me see where I'm at and let's go from there. Okay. So we have a lawmaker. A lawmaker from Arizona who says that blacks don't blend in. Right? Blacks don't blend in. What do you mean by that? Huh? We have to blend in, right? Because again, this is that old commercial. This is our country, right? This is their country. So you have to get in to fit in the way we want it done. Now, him going back to what Meek Mills talked about design and about statutes and laws. Here's a lawmaker, right? Who has his, things that are coming out of him, right? Certain stuff is coming out of him. He talked about, that native non-English speaking students are a burden, right? That they are a burden, right? He goes on to say that about 60% of Arizona is minorities, right? So the predominantness of the school system in Arizona is people, again, black and brown. So he said there's not enough white kids to go around to make really diversity because they're outnumbered. Well, again, that goes back to that whole thing about the browning of America that is transformed, right? And then he also talked about that. He said that immigration is an existential threat to the United States, right? Because, again, these people might be classified as white when they do the census, but technically there's some other stuff going on with them. But again, if you take the crayon of white or take the paint of white, and once you mix any color that touches it, it's not going to be white anymore. So it's a problem, and that breeds what? The flight. They have to get away because I need some room so that I can expand. But I can't expand as long as, you're hovering me and you're not giving space. And most likely my children is probably going to end up getting with somebody brown. So what's happening is, they're starting to speak out. Again, remember those who originally, the reason why you came to this channel is because white extinction, right? Remember that video? White extinction, right? That's one that got you to come over here. And so that was something I put out, being me again, the most hated show in the black corner because of that, right? And it wasn't me making fun. No, that was just the fact. I laid it out. And that was going on 5 years ago, right? To now that is becoming one of the major issues, even though they don't say it, but this is the kind of stuff that's being talked about, right? So to say that blacks don't blend in, there's a book I read back some time called The Golden Stool, right? If you could find that book, right? It's called The Golden Stool. And it was the missionaries that was around the Akan people tribe in Africa. And they talked about, said, well, the black man would never be accepted fully until he become a black white man. This is what he talking about, this blend in shit here, right? You need to be more like us. And you don't change. It seems like they don't blend in, because they can always still be black. So no matter what we do, they really kind of, all that black. We've been working on it for a long time, right? You have somebody like Black China, right? Over there doing, skin lightening cream and shit like that, right? Again, the people who have internal, conflict with themselves about their identity and love for self and so forth, right? So here's a lawmaker. So if a lawmaker is talking like this when he felt comfortable amongst the people who he was speaking, what do they do in those think tanks and those legislating when they coming in bills, and what kind of thoughts are being had to make long implications of laws that we see again as incarceration, higher, and all that other stuff. So we know, again, as much as they deny it, but it be there, right? So that was a lawmaker in Arizona. Again, the browning of Arizona is happening. Now, next one I'm going to go with, let's see. Hopefully that sound is still going good, y'all. Let me see where I'm at and come back. I got to make sure that y'all, I see that people are saying that they can't hear. Can y'all still hear? Hold on, let me do that again. Hold on, don't do that. Let me look out there and see, because you're not able to hear. And that's not on my end. You still can't hear? Fresh as hell. Can you hear? You can hear me though from the mic, but you're not hearing the videos. Is that what you're saying? Give me a 1 if you're still there. Okay, I'm assuming. Okay, are you there? Anybody can hear that? Is it the videos being? Can you hear the videos or not? I'm pretty sure you can hear. Okay, you can hear the video. It got louder. Okay, you can hear. Okay, you can hear me because you hear the video. Is what I'm asking. Give me a 1 if you can hear the video again when I was playing it. Okay. All right. Okay. So what we have here is a story of NBA player who was on a United flight and was with his son, and they got this kind of this rule and that they can separate you depending on seating arrangements and so forth. So somebody decided there was a section, I guess, on the airplane that I guess you had to pay more money to sit in those kind of reserved seats for, and they had little sections, right? And so somebody who was sitting there, who probably recognized who he was or whatever, decided that they would say, well, you could have a seat and you and your son could sit there instead of having you sit over there, your son somewhere else. But this flight attendant seemed to have a problem, right? He had a problem with him for some odd reason. And so what she ended up doing is she got a little funky, right? She started, you got to do this, you got to do that. Oh, they really trying to knock me out, huh? You in here really trying to knock me out, ain't you? Hey, old boy, I tell y'all funny. Y'all some funny people, man. But I'm going to keep on going. I see what you're doing. I could see it. And you're wondering why. I said, no, I've been tooling it up. I've been tooling it up for y'all, right? You're going to have to really knock it out if you're going to do it this time, right? So the flight attendant is, again, a white person, right? And she has an attitude with him. Now, again, without having people patronizing the airlines, then what good is you being a stewardess when nobody won't patronize and fly? Then you would just be on the airplane after a while. Your business the business goes closed, belly up, and you won't have a job. So it's not for you to be personal with people in that way. Your job is meet, greet, sit, hi, smile, peanuts. You understand what I'm saying? And all that other stuff ain't necessary. All your personal shit, you check that shit at the motherfucking door, put on your motherfucking uniform and do your job. But no, she got some other shit going on there. So she want to feel like she got a little power. You know how it is? They say little power, right, corrupts, so give a little bit of people a little bit of piece of power, and you'll see the corruptness come out of them. So here it is. She decided that, okay, I'm not going to allow you to do that, even though that person who was going to allow you to do this, I'm saying you can't do it because you need to be able to do this. So, okay, he's like, I'm not gonna get into this with you. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and sit on here. So when the flight end up landing, she is having security come to them, him and another woman. But before that happens, a white woman comes and gets to sit in that seat, right? And he looking like, oh, I thought you said no. Well, you know what I'm saying? She ain't got nothing to say about that. Matter of fact, when she comes to start serving drinks, she said, what, you going to boycott this? So again, itching for a scratch, as they say, right? You itching for a scratch. But he wasn't going to give it to you. He finna take it the legality. He taking it the legal way. He finna make your job pay him, and then they'll take care of you. You understand what I'm saying? That's something you got to deal with it sometimes. Sometimes it may not be good for you to get into confrontation or get into the verbal altercation, especially when it's like that. You say, hey, man, this one, when they beat that Chinese up too, right? Remember how he fell all out and shit? Boy, I bet he got a nice-ass check today, huh? But you won't be yanking a motherfucker out them chairs no more, right? So I guess he said, fuck it, well, I'm going to do it this way. And, I got a little clout because, again, I just happen to be not a regular Negro. I was a Negro with brand with the NBA. So I got a couple people, so that's going to work for me. And guess what's going to end up happening? You're probably going to end up losing your job. See? Getting funky over shit you ain't got no control of. But that's what they do, right? Hiding behind the cloak of that shit. So let's move on. And that was Eric Murdoch, right? He used to play for the Utah Jazz, for those who didn't know that. So let me show some more. We ain't got a lot left. But, I got to do what I do. So let's see this story here. I'll come right back. Who shot neighbor inside his apartment indicted for murder. You know I'm going to say that again. White officer who shot neighbor inside Okay. So that is that story, but I'm also going to give you the video to it, right? I'm going to give you this as well. And I'm going to give you the other part to it. And then I will elaborate behind that. So here's the visual. Wrong one. I don't know why that played that though. All right, let me get the. Hold on, I got it right here. That was the wrong one. Sorry about that, y'all. Wrong one. So do it again.
Murder charge hours after a grand jury indictment. We have her mugshot. It's from the Mesquite Police Department. That's where she.
Okay. So the other person in here got to be the agent doing what he doing, right? Okay, it's all good. Let me trace that out. Okay, so here go. Here's the visual to that. If I can get it to play.
Geiger was booked and released for a murder charge hours after a grand jury.
That's not the right one, though. Yeah, they over here fucking with me. But anyway, so you have what they had the picture, what they did, the story. They said the white officer who shot neighbor inside his apartment indicted for murder, right? So that is the Amber Geiger who shot Botham Jean, right? I heard that story going back a little bit, where Botham Jean was sitting in his house, right? You know, imagine you sitting in your own crib, doing whatever you was doing. Then he knows that the door probably was open, the person coming in, boom, shooting you. At least that's what we told, because remember, there's only two people that was present. The one that got killed and the one who did it. And so they said, dead people can't talk. So the only side you got is what her story was, right? Could there be an accident? It's possible, right? It's possible that a person could be so tired, right, that they got off. Now, again, you're on the elevator, right? Then they say something about that in the story said, park the car on the 4th floor or 3rd floor and had to go to the 4th floor, right? Okay, so this person, did he get in the elevator? Did he get in the elevator? What button did you push to get in the elevator? Because if you pushed, you was already on 3, right? So if you supposed to be on the 4, when you got in the elevator, did you have to push 4? Right? Did you have to push 4? Or did you get in the elevator on the 3rd floor or the garage and just walk and came right on in? Or you thought you was on the 4th floor? Okay, maybe that's what it was. Okay, you didn't recognize. There's no signage nowhere that you would have seen 3. All right. Now, you know, if you ever lived in a complex, and all the complexes look the same. Again, you know the difference because, again, you know, like if you live in a complex, you go through a door, and then there's doors, you come down a hall. Okay, and sometimes there's some things that, as a resident, what you do is maybe you got a floor mat, right? You got a little wreath on your door. You got some little something, right? You know, okay, right? Okay. And if not, okay, let's go with that. Okay, so you did okay, maybe that was not part of it. Okay, because again, I know some people who did the investigation, they showed there was a red mat there, which would indicate when you walked. But again, if we're going to give the, you know, the scenario that you were so tired, you did 15 hours and, you know, hard day at work, and I'm weary and tired and I'm discombobulated. All right. Now you say you get to the doors are jarred. Ain't there a lot of just coincidence to coincidence to coincidence? And then you go in, right? I know you're a cop. I get you a cop, but you are female, and based on what we see, you not that big. Yeah, I know a gun can control, right? What Bushwick Bill said, lifting weights will make you bigger, but if you come lift me, you'll be a dead ass. Right, because he talking about he got a gun, right? Meaning, I don't care how big he is, this gun is the equalizer, right? And I get that. Okay, so you're trained, you know how to shoot, right? But couldn't you call for back? Hey, look, I think I got somebody in my crib. Somebody come through, right? Couldn't you did that? No, you went out and did it on your own. You come in, you say a silhouette. Well, if you've seen a silhouette, there has to be a reflection of something, of some kind of light. Huh? Now, again, I got to see the apartment, but they wouldn't show in that apartment from the kitchen. Now, the kitchen itself had like a little bit, it's a little tiny kitchen that it's corned off. And it kind of got like, it's like one little kitchen you got to step in to get in. And then it's kind of like you could see in the dining room or the living room. Right? So the way that I seen it, I'm looking like, okay, You had to get past the kitchen to get in there, and then okay, so they have a TV, right? Because again, somebody said I think he was watching the football game or something like that. So a TV was on, right? Okay, so let's say there's a lot of coincidences that could be attributed. Okay, a person just thought they was in their place. The door was ajar. They on the wrong floor. They even parked on the wrong floor. Did anybody tested to see if she was under the influence of drugs? Maybe she was high as fuck or something. You know what I'm saying? Maybe she took some Percocet or something. Yeah, she was on something. Or this is a lot more domesticated than we might know. Okay, then you lived in a building somewhere, right? You got you're a man, you single, you got your own little place, and there's some women that live in the building. You know, you see them coming across and they see you, right? You know how we know, because that seemed to not be. I guess when the trial and stuff coming, maybe all that'll come out. Maybe there had been some relationship, right? Because we had to say, well, why was his door ajar if he's sitting up in there? Did somebody leave your house already? You just left your door? That don't even make sense either. He's sitting up in his house and his door is ajar? Or did you have a key and you went in? Because the scenario that you're playing it ain't got too many possibilities. And, you know, again, somebody who works in that field, a line of profession, let me tell you something. Police are just as knowledgeable as a lawyer. They know because, again, when they lock your ass up, they the one that got to go to court, right? So they have been to a lot of court proceedings. They know what cases they get you convicted. They know what shit work. They know how to, you understand what I'm saying? There's a lot of shit that a police officer can know the game, and if they're going to do some shit, it's kind of like that Drew Peterson in Illinois. He killed 2-3 of his wives. They can't find none of them. And they just convicted him for the same thing. We know you killed him, but they just can't figure out because he been in the police for so damn long. He understands the game. That's all I'm saying. Hypothetical, right? This is hypothetical. So again, originally they say that it was, we're going to say manslaughter, right? And they gave her a bail of $300,000 to get out. So that she had to pay 10%, which is $30,000, right? She got out, right? And, you know, doing what she doing, right? Now I want you to see this. Well, I think they mentioned it in there. I think they did mention it. Now, this time they go back and they indict her for murder. Now guess what the bail was? Did you hear it? The bail was $200,000. Wait a minute. Oh, wait a minute. Manslaughter, which is lesser than murder, it was $300,000. You get charged with murder, now the bail is $200,000. What? What kind of math is this? And why is the bail lower? You understand? So again, let's look at some of the shit that had been said by them, by that lawyer. Again, it could have went down like that. It could have, but you asking too many. It's too many possibilities to be of a coincidence. You get what I'm saying? You can't. I stumbled over here, and then I went through the glass over here, and then I end up landing. Damn, that's too much. Right? Too many coincidence, or they say coinky dink, right? So that lawyer says that the only reason why they end up getting indicted, her getting indicted, is because, well, there's a vindictive emotional. They're vindictive and they're emotional about this. Wait a minute. Their son lost his life for what? What did he lose his life for? Because based on the scenario that a person fumbles, stumbles, and goes in the wrong place, aren't you responsible in some form or fashion? Aren't you a little bit responsible? No? So there's this political play involved in this. You know, people politically, this is good for somebody who's trying to run. They're going to use this and use her. Really? Really? So they say, well, emotion. He used the word again. He said emotion was ejected. See, why emotion? Because black people are emotional. You know why? Because we the most oppressed, especially when they come on this so-called Western Hemisphere. We the most oppressed people. So, of course, we're going to have some emotions. You would, too. If the deck was stacked up, you know, worse than Vegas. Right? So he says, well, we believe that if we go by the law and the evidence, we believe that she will be vindicated and she will be found to be innocent. The law? What law is there that you could do that? There's some negligence somewhere, right? Neglect. There's something in that. But okay, maybe I don't know. No. But then he says this last part, and I'm going to move on. He says, fair form. What do you mean a fair form? It was the same thing when you look at Chicago about the Jason Van Dyke situation. What they said, he couldn't get a fair trial in the city because everybody knew and everybody had seen. Well, I get that you want to have the best representation and you want the best shot at presenting your case. But if your shit is just, you guilty, ain't shit you can do. There is no magic trick for that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like some people say, well, Johnny Cochran did a magic trick for OJ when the gloves didn't fit. Well, shit, again, there was a lot of shit that played and maybe that wasn't the gloves he had and somebody threw some shit and then they used it and figured out this nigga got swole ass hand. They can't put his big ass hand in that little glove and he figured out, put that glove on. And when they put that glove on, fucked the whole case up. Should not let them did that shit, right? But that was y'all slip, right? So anyway, so you saying you can't get a fair, so what you want is a jury of her peers. You want people who are like Amber Geiger. Because if you get those who are melanated and brown, they're going to be like, nah, that shit stumbling, fumbling too much. That shit don't sound right. Right? And again, they never had mentioned how many times he got shot. They just said he got shot in his apartment. So how many times did she let loose? So anyway, that story will be, to be continued because, again, as it is, they're always doing what they're doing, right? We're just about done, y'all. For those, unless you done already fell damn asleep. I'm on late tonight. I had no choice. That's the only way I can get on, right? So, now, what I got for more of my trick bag here. I don't know, I might got that other story because, again, did you know... let's see. Let me see if this is it. Hold on. Over there, you're messing with me, so you're making it hard for me to get it off. Okay.
Chicago cops' testimony of a Laquan cover-up brings out an ugly side of police.
Oh, yeah, here we go. This is the one I want to play. As I just talked about the Jason Van Dykes. Now, you know that the ones that was his partners that night, right, they're now up. They're up now. It's their time to be dealt with, right? So let me show you this. And let me play this for y'all. And give me 1 second, and let's get it.
Chicago cops' testimony of a Laquan cover-up brings out an ugly side of policing. You know I'm going
Okay. So that is in Chicago, Dora Fontaine, who was testifying against her colleagues who was there the night of the Laquan McDonald shooting in Chicago that happened back in 2014. That was a big trial, was a big case. We covered it here on this channel, right? And so those that were there that night that didn't shoot corroborated with Jason Van Dyke to say that Laquan McDonald had lunged at him. But again, it was also the video that really showed it all and made it just ridiculous to even use that. But then, you know, they collaborated together and put their report stating that what he said. And so now that he got convicted for what he did, they're now coming back to get those who had perjured on their testimony. So you have David March, Thomas Gaffney, and Joseph Walsh were the ones that are being before the court. And you have this Dora Fontaine who is going against the grain. And as you kind of heard in the story there, it talked about what did she had to gain. You know, what horse you got in this race? Huh? Fontaine, you're not black, right? Why don't you stick to the game, just stick over them and let that thing fall the way it is. And it's not about respect. Who's going to respect you? We're not going to respect you. You know what I'm saying? They calling her a rat and a snitch and all this other stuff. And, you know, she went against the Blue Shield, right? You know, she went against the fraternity. And again, if it's about justice, we understand that, again, you know, fraternization, alliances, we get that. But sometimes what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong, right? And then, you know, some people believe that if they do all they do now, that they're, again, according to your belief system, then everything goes and there's no accountability. Because, again, if you could take away that there's nothing essential out beyond this and it's just life, and if you just go with evolution and there's nothing beyond that, then I guess everything goes that you can do and there's no consequences. But what if you're wrong? And so you have people who are, you know, have that, you know, connection through melanin and so forth. They have this belief of a creator. So they have to weigh that in the balance of what's right and what's wrong. And she's taken to say, well, not so much about if I would have stuck with you. I just realized that the videotape convict you. And it don't make no sense for me sitting there and going through what y'all going through, right? And that's what they said in the article. Said, well, you know, trying to save your job. And said, matter of fact, you know, you're a lazy cop anyway. You're talking about she went to Dunkin' Donuts and sit in the car while her partner go get a cup of coffee. She turned down the radio and on the phone. You know, all this little petty ass shit. See, that's the kind of shit motherfuckers think about your ass and motherfucker, but they don't say shit until they get mad and shit. Then all of a sudden now they want to say all this shit that they really think about you, right? And so again, you know, in a sense, she's to be commended. But again, I don't even really think she needed to testify, to be honest, because if he got convicted, right, let's say that Jason Van Dyke got convicted for actually doing the killing, and so it would be easy to convict them because, again, that story didn't corroborate to get him out of what he did. So that means it was easy to show they lied because the jury didn't buy the shit either. So she didn't really need to do it, but I think she did it for her own self, of her conscience, you understand? And wanted to know, let it be known she did the right thing. And then she's taking a lot of heat for it. Again, you know, people understand that. And she even said, like, you better keep me inside, keep me on the desk, because if you put me out on the street, you know what I'm saying, we get in a situation. I mean, we done seen, what's that King, what it called? King of the Streets? What is that the name of it? It was a movie that had, I think, had Forrest Whitaker in it. It had, what was the dude from Training Day? He was in it too. And remember, Forrest Whitaker was doing some dirty shit, getting all the motherfucking money and shit, right? They're doing all kind of dirty shit. I guess training day too, the same shit, right? And they would set your ass up, right? You a cop and put you in a situation, and then, you know what I'm saying, they had to say somebody else did it, but, you know, it could be them. So she know that. So she said, I don't know, you know, I guess it would be safe for me to be out there because I can get set up by them, or they'll get me in a situation and wouldn't even come help me, right? So it kind of fucked up position to be in. But again, in her sense, she doing it for a reason why she need to do it, and that story's out there. But again, like I said, it's making the situations look ugly. See, black people, black men been saying being incarcerated, falsely incarcerating me and putting in jail for nothing. But now in this day and age, this shit is all coming out and it's not hidden. Before, with technology and cameras, it was just your word. And so, you know, it seemed like they have more weight because you would think that they wouldn't have to be lying. If you wrong, then I arrest you. If you right, I leave you alone. But again, when people trying to be promoted, you need certain criteriums, and so I guess arrests and all that shit is part of it. So I guess, you know, if I got to carry my weight if I'm trying to, you know, move up. So I'm gonna have to sometimes create. It's kind of like quota time. You know, you be riding the fuck around and you start seeing a lot of police pulling people over. You know it's quota time. Motherfuckers ain't made enough tickets, so they got to start writing motherfucking tickets just to get you in court. Even if you're going to throw the motherfucker out, at least they wrote the ticket. You get what I'm saying? And so the same thing, too, when you're trying to move up and get them ranks, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of shit you got to do to get there. You can't get them stripes being clean. You get what I'm saying? So, move on. Maybe one or two left, and I'm going to close the show for the night. What I got here? Let's see what I got here. They threw me off at night, so let's see what I got here for you. Check this out. Okay. So that was a story done where in St. Louis, based on, again, a police officer had killed a young man and got acquitted for what took place. And so people took to the streets in protests. And so as the city, to protect the property and life of the citizenry, put out I guess you say, patrol, right? That they would go out there to, kind of monitor. But these police officers were looking at opportunities to get free ass whoopings, right? Let's whoop some ass, right? Think about that shit. Motherfucker talking about let's whoop some ass, right? That ain't your job. Is not to go and looking. You ain't supposed to be going and looking for trouble. You know what I'm saying? You just came to do the Super Bowl shuffle, right? You came to do according to what is necessary. Now, you ain't there to start shit. You there to resolve shit. But they coming in there with the mindset, we finna fuck somebody up tonight. You know what I'm saying? They say, it feels good to be a rogue. They won't even know that who we are. We out there getting the free. See, have you ever thought about that shit? Have you ever thought about that? How being a policeman is like free ass whooping because he don't worry about going to jail, right? Free ass whooping. And that's the way they was doing. They were calling and texting each other. Yeah, tonight, man. How many asses you gonna kick tonight? I'm gonna fucking that fucker up, man. I got a fucking baton, shot feet. I'm gonna do it all. So okay, here they had set a game plan. They was already souped up, suited and booted, ready to go do what they had to do. And the first motherfucker who they got didn't know this motherfucker was just like them. Whooped his ass up. And the problem is, what they didn't say in there, hey, he was black. Right? So there was these white cops going out to go get protesters. Again, they're supposed to be there to monitor, like how in the old cowboy days, you had the dog that make sure the cow and shit didn't get off. That's what they supposed to do. Just make sure the shit don't get out of pocket, don't get out too rowdy, and if you do, we gonna arrest you. Not going there looking to fuck motherfuckers up. So karma came back instantly. So okay, they fucked the motherfucker up, whooped him up, and come to find it, probably went in, going as bad as the motherfucker had a bad. Goddamn, look, Chuck, it's a fucking cop. So they telling him like, look, don't tell nobody. Fuck it. I know we fucked up, man. Dude, jaw all fucked up. He can't eat. Lost 20 pounds. Back fucked up. All that. And they fucked him up real good. He had to get surgery. I got to tell. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you do this shit and I'm a cop, what is you doing to motherfuckers that ain't? Go back to Meek Mills, when we talked about earlier in the show. And Meek Mills was saying that shit too, right? Talking about how police just go and arrest any motherfucking body because they don't have the kind of resources to be able to fight and, to get justice. Charge it to the game is the way they doing it. So, you got motherfuckers who, again, you respect police for the job that they do. But when motherfuckers is doing shit they ain't supposed to be respected to, then you got to call it for what it is. It is what it is. Some motherfuckers coming in there, abuse of power, because they can, and they hide behind it, and they doing all kind of shit. And then in this situation like that, then it's only merited that you got what you're going to get. And okay, it is what it is. But the problem is, it's showing there's an internalness that's going on in these departments. So, again, if we was to really take the cover off this shit, if we was go back in time, let's say from 2018 going all the way back to 1790, yeah, you heard what I said, from 2018 to all the way back to 1790 when they first started making incarceration to put him in the jail, how long would the rap sheet be of you just had some rogue ass cops, like they said, rogues, just, you know what I'm saying, above the law, free ass whooping and enjoying the shit, high-fiving each other, tag teaming. Them motherfuckers doing some WWF shit. If no cameras around, motherfucker gonna hold you, power drive your ass, slap fire to the other. He come off the rope, now he gonna give you some, slap fire to the other. You know what I'm saying? They just go to work on your ass. And they don't feel no remorse. But I guess now, You know what I'm saying? They gotta do the, just say don't do the crime if you can't do the time. So okay, it is what it is, right? So let me get a couple more, and that should be the show tonight, y'all. Matter of fact, I got one more maybe. I actually got two more. I don't know if I'm gonna do that other one. This one here, I think, is the one I was looking for earlier, because I want y'all to see this. But let's see what it is, and let's go on, because I didn't have it marked tonight. I'm so late getting in. Let's see. Yeah, because I'm at the 2:30 mark, so yeah, I'm right on time. Come on, let's play. Let's get it.
Now the title is going to be
Okay, so I already kind of went over that earlier, but I didn't give you that part of the story because it got mixed in there. But as you heard, right, gave you the scenario about what took place for those who didn't know. And again, as at the end, it talked about charged with manslaughter, right? It was $300,000 the first time. Now when it came with murder, they got a $200,000 bail. How did it go down $100,000, right? So again, you know, we get it. Family gonna try to take care of family. We get all that, but we're just saying that again, as it says, as it states, as a tragic accident or incident. I'm saying that you know, there's a lot of coincidences, right? There's a lot of that in there. There's a lot of possibles in there. I mean, one, you parked on the wrong floor, you went to the wrong place, you said the door was ajar, and you got too much. There's too much in there to sound like, you know, so somewhere in there, you know, is there a happy medium? But they came with murder, so I don't know. They didn't go back to manslaughter, so there's something that they looking at that maybe that has not been revealed. But again, stay tuned for that case. It will be revealed eventually as time go on. And I think I got nothing else. I got this here, but this is probably a little different than what it is. But let's see. Let's see what this is. Hold on. Let me show y'all this, and this will be the end of the show tonight. Let's see what this is. Oh yeah, listen to this shit here, y'all. All right, I just wanted to show that shit because I thought that was some amazing shit there. You see that shit? Matter that shit, you eating that shit, huh? Belgian blue. Shit look monstrosity. It's a big monstrosity. Behemoth, they say. But some of that shit is on some dinner plate. They say, well, double the muscling is what they call it. It's not steroid. It's kind of like you ever seen these videos sometimes where you see somebody who just big and tall and shit. They say there's a certain I don't know, it's a gene or something that does not turn off. And theirs is constantly growing. That's the same thing with this so-called Belgian blues. They have this, and so they look at it as more meat, right? But again, as it said in the story, it talked about them being, having health problems. Well, if they got health problems and then you gonna use the meat and feed to the people, then the meat ain't no hey, the meat ain't no fucking good. And you gonna get this shit? Okay, what the fuck I know, right? What the fuck I know. So anyway, I want to thank y'all for who stayed here and watched the show tonight. Hopefully you gave me a like or dislike or put a comment say he ain't shit. I don't like you. It's all good. And, this is what I do. I try to get a better time. Those who are a little interested in some of the stuff that goes around the world. A lot of times, again, as you see on your screen, it's always been about race. And when I see the race, so I'm going to talk about it. Even though when it's black people, I do it too. Oh, if you're white, you see, don't think it's just you. We get some too, right? But you are the holder right now, and we are under your oppression. So it's only fair to right sometimes when you're doing it. You have to see some reflection of some of the bullshit you do. It's not to be mean. It's got to be informative. So again, I want to thank everybody who came out tonight. And matter of fact, let me look and see if there's any messages before I get out of here. I see two. One is Asian and one has got to be fresh. Asian and fresh. You was cut out the whole time. I was cut out? Oh, they cut me out. That's the motherfucker that's sitting up in here. That's that other motherfucker sitting in here. He doing that shit. That's what he did. That's YouTube. That's YouTube doing that, right? You don't like what I'm saying, so you go in here and you cut out. See, it's like I did Facebook the other day talking about how they do the same shit too, right? You suppress, huh? See, if I'm saying bullshit, you wouldn't need to cut my sound. But you can't take what it is because you can't like truth. You're like a vampire. You don't like your own reflection. Matter of fact, you can't even see yourself. And that's what problem with this is. You see yourself and you don't like what you see. Well, it is what it is. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? You say I was cut out how long? Can't hear, play again. Play what again? What part you want me to play again? I'll wait for you before I cut out. Because if my sound is going out, it's not from my end. That's the agent sitting up in here doing that. All right, so I'm not sure if you're still in here, so I'm going to go ahead and close the show out. Again, this is Mr. Blow Your Mind, your whiteologist, bringing you another thought-provoking live show. The most hated show in the black corner, not because I'm hating on you, just because I'll bring the light to it. Anyway, let's do this and get out. And hell, I'll end up talking to you, sir. You know what sad is? You know what make you sad? Huh? You know what makes you sad? That you have to do what you do. Because you can't take the truth. The truth was never in you. And so you have to do because you don't like who you really truly are. Right? You don't like who you really are. So you have to do what you do. It's all right. They ain't going to change who I am. You know what sad is? You know what make you sad?